This short 7th video will focus more on the individual classroom experience, the skills that are necessary to succeed in the class itself. First, take advantage of the professor's office hours, which are required of professors and are posted on the syllabus and outside his or her office door. If you cannot see a professor during the office hours, feel free to talk to him or her just before or after class. Most professors are here in the morning. If you come later afternoon, your chances of seeing the professor are a little bit less. But regardless, all professors have voicemail and email, and you can always just leave a note in the box outside the professor's door or in a box in the main social sciences office. Professors can make appointments, so just contact your professor if you have trouble meeting them. And don't be shy about doing so. Professors are there to help. All students should be aware of the individual classroom attendance policy, which varies from professor to professor and course to course. Most professors take some form of attendance, and some involve it in the course grade. So review the syllabus on the attendance policy, and if you can't be absent, if you're going to be absent, be sure to contact the professor. Most history classes are some combination of lectures, discussion, and reading. Lectures often dominate, especially in the survey courses, and note-taking is absolutely essential. Proper note-taking is a skill that most history students develop, and in all history classes, students should be prepared for notes. This is important because unlike high school, the lectures don't follow a book, and so if you miss a class, you might miss some information that wasn't covered in the book. Many lectures form an outline, and the student should try to grasp the overall organization of the lecture. In this way, the student will understand the important points as well as the individual terms. Too often students simply take notes when the professor mentions an event and a date, or some individual item that appears a possible identification question. Specific terms certainly can be important, and when the professor writes down a term on the board or on a handout, students should include it in their notes. At the same time, however, the terms are often illustrative of a larger, broader point. Too often when students wade into specific items to take notes, they miss the proverbial forest for the trees. Many students learn tricks of the trade to speed up their note-taking, including a wide range of abbreviations. After a person is mentioned the first time in notes, for example, the student may identify that person simply by initials. They may learn to substitute certain letters for words that are frequently repeated. The student should employ whatever works. The notes, after all, are for personal use only. The faculty recommends that every student begin each day's notes with a date and use a spiral notebook or some other binder. This facilitates coordination if students later compare notes, and if a student misses a day, it makes copying notes from another student easier. The department has a copy machine just outside the main departmental office, but students must get permission to use it. They should simply ask the professor or the departmental secretary, Ms. Pruss. If a student worries that his or her notes are inadequate, the professor may be willing to review them. I want to stress again that note-taking is the first step in learning a subject, and if you simply record a lecture, you're missing the first step of the notes, of learning a subject. In addition to a syllabus, many professors distribute a handout, and these can accumulate over time, and it's easy to lose them. So we recommend that students may consider, a binder, not only to store the syllabus, but the course handouts. These handouts are absolutely critical, and you don't want to lose them. A student may decide to record or tape a lecture. To do so, the student should get permission from the professor, because technically the lectures are the professor's copyright. I should know that taping is not a substitute for attendance, and most professors require attendance to tape. In class, never be afraid to speak up, because class participation is usually a critical part of the student's grade. If you want to speak up, raising the hand is usually a safe way to do it, but wherever you are in class, treat each other with respect, and that means not texting or talking on your phone during a classroom discussion or lecture. It's considered rude, and you definitely should avoid it. If you must communicate with somebody outside the classroom during class time, simply step outside and come back in later. While the first step is listening and note-taking, or perhaps taping, a second step may be forming study groups. In these, you literally compare notes. And you may find that in places your notes are inadequate. And so you compare notes and you get a collective sense of what went on in the classroom, and you're sure that you have everything you need for success. You can start doing this several weeks before the exam to allow plenty of time still for studying. When you're sure your notes are adequate, you got to allow adequate time for studying itself. In general terms, most classes have fewer evaluations than students had in high school. Whereas students might have had an evaluation every week in high school, collegiate history classes may only have 2 or 3 exams in the entire term. This, of course, presents challenges. When exams are frequent, there's less material, and therefore less time is needed for studying. If, however, the first exam is a midterm in college, the student will have almost a month and a half of class notes. And this absolutely requires a longer period of preparation and ensures that the material is in your long-term memory. Students simply cannot grasp an entire month or so of work in a single night of studying for the exam. Preparation and studying must begin well in advance of the exam date. Students need to isolate themselves in a quiet area and simply go over the notes until they feel comfortable with their command of the material. A good way to see if a student is prepared is to recount materials out of the blue. A student may be able to identify something when it's written on a page before them, but can they recall it and properly place it in the context of, say, an essay question? If you miss an exam, makeups are usually possible, but students should contact the professor before the exam itself if they know they're going to be absent. If, however, they cannot attend for some unexpected reason, the student should simply contact the professor as soon as possible and request a makeup. Makeup policies vary by professor and are usually noted on the syllabus, but they may require some verifiable proof of the student's excuse. In scheduling makeups, professors may, as prearranged with the student, leave the exam in a folder with the secretary, Mrs. Pruss. In this way, the student doesn't have to come by when the professor is present. Upon completion, the student will give the exam to Mrs. Pruss, who proctors it, and then she will return the exam to the professor. In any event, this concludes a short little video on classroom success.